This month, this talk is called Your Fortune Begins in Consciousness. And again, we're working with the entire organization in setting intentions and setting goals and holding consciousness together. So all over America and the world, actually, there are different communities who are bringing forth messages around the same topics. But we don't have to adhere to a specific message. We get to do our own message. But the theme for this month is peace and prosperity for all. Peace and prosperity for all. And the value is financial health and prosperity. And the book is a little book called The Path to Wealth by May McCarthy. And I'm going to talk a little bit more about May, but as we know, as students of the science of mind and spirit, that everything begins in consciousness. Everything begins in consciousness. So we are incarnations of the one mind that through its thought created everything that is. So there's one mind or consciousness. There is a thing called consciousness. And you know, they're investigating dark energy and dark matter. Well, guess what? Dark energy and dark matter are that infinite potential of consciousness itself. That's my theory anyway. Unfortunately, I don't have the tools to prove it other than by using that as the foundation of my life and realizing that it works when I work it, as always. In the book by Genevieve Barrand, who was a student of Thomas Troward, who was an inspiration to our founder, Ernest Holmes, she says, the world was projected by the self-contemplation of the universal mind, and this same action is taking place in its individualized branch, which is the mind of man, which is our mind. So each of us is an individualized branch on this tree of consciousness that is all connected. That's how we look at things like, how do you have premonitions? How do you know someone's going to call you? And they do. How do you know what someone's going to say before they say it? Because we're connected in consciousness. Now, in our teaching symbol, that's what that is for those of you who may be new here, this is called the teaching symbol. And it sort of is a representation of God, the triune nature of God, if you will. And the top part is spirit, universal mind, intelligence itself. Now, the universal mind thinks something, tree. It goes into that middle part, which is called the law, which is what takes thought and brings it into form. And the bottom part is the form. Now, the little V stands for we had a thought, it goes into the universal law, and it outpictures as something. Then we get to look at that something and say, no, that ain't it. And we get to learn from that and have a new thought. We go back up and say, oh, we get some wisdom. We get the lesson. We find out, oh, thinking that way is not really what I want to do because it's causing me harm or it's causing me distress or whatever. And so I get to have a new thought. I have to remember that, of course. But the thing is, with us, as human beings, it's a little more complicated because not only do we have that mind of God in us, but we have the collective consciousness of humanity. Every thought that has ever been thought by every human being, all of those fearful thoughts, all of those wild and depressing thoughts or whatever, they're all in there. So we have to really have intention and focus to get through the sort of muck and mire of the collective consciousness. Because it can derail us and discourage us and make us doubt and fear and all of that kind of stuff. So we have to work our way through that by having an intention and having a focus on that intention and holding that intention. Remember how I told you when I did that fire walk, I wasn't looking at the coals, I was looking at the person at the other end, because that was my goal. So I'm going to look at the goal and not get focused on all of the fire in between me and that person. All of those hot coals that I was going to walk across with my bare feet. I wasn't thinking about the bare feet. I wasn't thinking about the coals. I was thinking about that big hug I was going to get at the end of this. So we keep focused on what it is that we really desire. The principle is where attention goes, energy flows, and form follows. Where attention goes, energy flows, and form follows. So what we're thinking about is projecting something, and if we put emotion with that thought, because we have lots of thoughts that don't have a whole lot of, they just sort of float through, but if we attach an emotion to that thought, that energy then generates the form. And that's why fear is such a terrible thing, because what we're afraid of is a big energy that usually is very successful at bringing us what we don't want. So when we find ourselves being fearful, we have to remember something greater than the fear. And that's why having a spiritual practice is very, very important. And that is what May McCarthy is talking about in this book, The Path to Wealth. She is talking about a spiritual practice that she has. Now, she co-founded and grew 6 successful businesses, one of which had a yearly income of $100 million. So she knows about wealth. But she had a 30-year career, with fashion, retail, telecommunications, healthcare, IT software, and inventory management systems. So she certainly had a wide variety of businesses that she was able to manage. And she begins this book talking about The Karate Kid. Do you remember that movie, The Karate Kid? There was this movie about this kid who wanted to learn karate, and he goes to this karate master, and the karate master has him wax his car. Wax on, wax off, wax on, wax off, wax on, wax off, wax on, wax off. And the kid is like, this is not a martial art. But what he didn't know was he was learning a discipline, and he was learning a practice. And that is what each of us is called to do, to have a discipline and a practice that allows us to connect with what she calls her, what does she call it? The Chief Spiritual Officer, or CSO. The Chief Spiritual Officer, the CSO, and she says she attributes her success in business to her partnership with the CSO. So she has a 7-step practice that she does every day. The first 4 steps of this practice are a meeting with the CSO every morning. So what she does is, she says, she invites us to find a space that is comfortable and quiet, and take a half an hour with no interruption. Just say, I'm, to the family or whatever, I'm having a meeting with someone and I need to be uninterrupted for a half an hour. So there are several steps in this meeting. 4 of the 7 steps are in this meeting. So what the first thing you do is you note, you have like a notebook. When you get into the meeting, you bring a notebook and you bring something inspiring to read. And, pen and paper and all that kind of stuff. And the first thing you do is you write the date and the time of the meeting that you're having with the Chief Spiritual Officer, the CSO. And the first thing you do is read something uplifting, whatever it is. You read that uplifting thing, and then you write down what it was. I read, Walt Whitman, a poem by Walt Whitman, whatever. You write down whatever that inspirational thing was that you did. The second thing you do is you write out gratitude statements in a letter to the CSO. Dear CSO, I am so grateful for, and you write out things you're grateful for that you have now, and also things that you're grateful for that you don't have now, but would like to have. So you're grateful for your new home. You're grateful for your new car. You're grateful for the job. You're grateful for the relationship. You're grateful for the health. Whatever it is that you desire to have, you are writing that in the letter, that you're grateful for it as if you already had it. So you're writing as if you already had that thing. And then you read that letter out loud with emotion. I am so grateful for my health. I'm so grateful for the wonderful, abundant income that is more to spare and to share. And, you're grateful for all of these things. And you have that emotion of gratitude. And the fourth thing is you imagine and you think about and you feel grateful for those desires again that you wish you had. So you're feeling what it's like to have them, and imagine how you look having those things or that experience. So you're making a picture, visualizing a picture in your mind to generate the feeling of already having whatever it is. And when you're doing that, you are creating an energy. And that energy is going out into the universe, and it's generating something that's attracting to you that corresponding energy and form out there. So it's raising our vibration to receive something else, something new. Now, the thing we have to be concerned about is, remember, when we get stuck in that collective consciousness, then we start saying, well, where is it? I want to see it now. The thing is, this is an organic process, You don't just plant the seed and then say, where are you? Where is that flower? I planted you. Where is it? No, you don't. You have to wait for it to germinate. You have to wait for it to grow. You have to wait for it to manifest. So it's about, just continuing that practice each day of being grateful for it already. So you're generating that energy each and every day. And when you're doing that piece, you may get some guidance. You may get some direction. If you do, write it down. Write down the direction. Now, don't let your reason get in the way of the direction. In other words, it may say, why don't you go over and get a Jamba Juice today? And it's like, I don't even like Jamba Juice. Why would I go to Jamba Juice? I do like Jamba Juice, but I'm just saying, you could say, why would I go there? You go there and something happens. You connect with somebody. There is a realization of connection, and you move forward with that connection in a greater way. Jill, could I tell the post office story? Is that okay? All right, because Jill has a very dear friend named Michael, who she met, who was having a real challenge in his life. And he was, do you want to tell the story? Okay, so he was really having a challenge in his life, and something told him to go to the post office. And it so happens that Jill is at the post office, and this guy is having health challenges. And so Jill has just started on her primal diet. And so she is really excited about having that, the raw food and things like that. They're eating the primal diet. And so she happens to connect with Michael at that post office, and she tells him about, they just start talking, and she tells him about this diet that he's on. And he says, that's it. I need to shift my diet. I need to eat a different way. And so he does. And they've been friends ever since, and he's been working for them for 30 years now? 25 years. So, he didn't know why he was going to the post office, but he went. His box was empty, so there wasn't anything there, but he had to be there to meet her. So the universe sets up these little connections, these synchronicities. So the next part of this practice is that during the day, you watch every moment for a sign or some intuitive direction to take the next step towards your desired good. So you're keeping your mind open. You're opening to whatever it is. And you don't overanalyze the instructions. You get something and you say, okay, I will do that. Ernest Holmes, who founded the Science of Mind and Spirit, said, expectancy speeds progress. Therefore, live in a continual state of expectancy. No matter how much good you are experiencing today, expect greater good tomorrow. So have that expectancy of good, because when we have the expectancy of good, that's what we're looking for, and that's what we find, because attention, energy flows where the attention goes. So we're putting our attention on expecting good things. So that's what we get. Then when you do get the good things, you celebrate and express gratitude in a joyful way when something good happens. So for instance, yesterday, when I got back over the pass, I got through chain control. I got a little Subaru this year. And so, there was chain control. It was like, oh my God, I've never been through the chain control before with this car, and I don't know what I'm going to do, because normally if it said chain control, I was like, I'm staying here. I'm not going anywhere. So it was like, okay, I'm going through the chain control, and I got to the guy, and he just went. So I went, and I went over the pass, and it was snowing, and, it was an adventure. And it was great. It was great. So I celebrated. I told everybody, I was like, I just made it over the pass in the snow. So we have to celebrate the good things. Text somebody. Call somebody. Just, tell the person in the grocery store, I just went over the pass. Yippee. I stopped at the Subaru dealer and told him. So we celebrate and express joyfully that which we have received. And then at night, so the celebrate is the step 6, and step 7 is just before you go to sleep, you say out loud gratitude statements for anything that you can remember that happened that day. So you're expressing gratitude for anything that happened that day, and you're expressing it out loud. Now, if you have a partner, you can share. And like for me, I text with Madeline. So I text with Madeline, but now I have to say it out loud. So now, I'm going to say that out loud. But the thing is, we are learning what worked for Mae McCarthy. Whenever we read these books and things like that, these people have a practice that worked really well for them. So what we do is we try it on and see if it works for us. And there may be aspects of it that do work for us and some of them that don't. But we find out what works for us because each of us is a unique individual. And our practice will be unique. But we try this on because the thing is, we are what we call religious scientists. So the thing is, we have to prove that whatever it is works for us. So we try it on, we try the practice, We see if it works for us. If it works for us, it's great. If it doesn't work for us, oh well. We say, okay, that wasn't it. I will try something else. And I just realized that, this is something where, this is one of her students, and I have to see if I can actually focus to read it. The first couple of days of attending the CSO meeting felt a bit like a chore. So the thing is, it is something else to do, and we think, oh no, not another thing to do. But if it's something that's really going to improve our lives, if it's really going to make things move smoother and more gracefully, and that we have more peace, especially around when things do not go our way, we still have peace, and we can still settle in and meet adversity in a more empowered way. So it felt like a chore. I had to wake up earlier than normal to fit the morning meeting into my schedule, and that made me tired by the end of the day. But I did it, and on the fourth day, I woke up before the alarm and looked forward to my meeting with the CSO. I felt more energized than I had the previous mornings, even though I'd gotten the same amount of sleep. I began to notice that I already had so much to be grateful for. Little demonstrations showed up, such as great parking places, new inquiries for our business, and a coworker who appreciated some assistance, and a mention of our products in a trade magazine. I celebrated each one of these with my friends and employees. On the fifth day, I received a $10,000 new order from a company we hadn't included in our prospect list. They said another customer had told them they could buy the products they needed from us. This increase was just what I wanted. So this is somebody who practiced for 5 days and already saw some results. So that's pretty cool. So this is an opportunity for us to see if this is for us as individuals, or we just get to try it on and see what's going to show up for us. We are more than we think we are. There's a great little writing in today's Science of Mind magazine. This is the month for this month. And the writer of them is Dr. Christian Sorensen, who's down in the Encinitas area. And he was raised in religious science. His father was a minister, his mother was a practitioner. And he says, first of all, he has two quotes. One is by Alan Cohen. Your freedom and happiness have been restricted by a story you haven't double-checked. And then he quotes Ernest Holmes, who says, that which is true in principle is only true in practice as we make it. So the principle is fine, but if we don't practice the principle and believe in it and go with it, then it's no good to us. And he talks about a person who has a ring that they think is a rhinestone when in fact it is a diamond. And this person thinks it's a rhinestone and just, it's like, so what? But the fact that we think it's a rhinestone doesn't make it a rhinestone. It is a diamond. And so the thing is, we keep thinking we're rhinestones, but we're diamonds. We are diamonds. So the key is, remember who we are. Remember that we have resources that we do not realize. Remember that if we transform fear into feeling excited and ready, we can move forward in a more positive way to do things we never would have thought we could do. And I think the time has come for us to step out into that power and into that realization of our good in a greater way. So our affirmation for today is, I am willing to open to a greater flow of good. I am willing to open to a greater flow of good. I am willing to open to a greater flow of good. I am willing to open to a greater flow of good. And so part of the practice today is also that we speak the covenant for our new minister, because we're all getting that consciousness and we're all together generating the consciousness of attraction for the new minister that we want to appear. So together we say, God has promised. We have that up there. Okay, should be another slide in there somewhere. Yep. Oh, John did not put it. It's in the bulletin. So in the bulletin, would you grab your little sheet? There's a little piece of paper in there that has our thing on it. It looks like this, the new minister covenant, okay? So we're setting that intention together. All right. So God has promised. So powerful is the light of unity that it can illuminate the whole earth. Purpose. My new minister is the unity that I am. I see my new minister vision empowering our thriving spiritual community. The universal intentions for my new minister are to inspire me to live in unity as an expression of love, to awaken me to the wisdom within, to embody the consciousness of wholeness in community and organizational well-being. My community intentions for my new minister are to offer mystical teachings that illuminate the science of mind principles, to be a loving and beneficial presence in the greater community in support of social activism. And so it is.